Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube NFL prediction segment, I'm going to be giving you my preview of the 2020-2021 NFC Divisional Round matchup, which pits the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the New Orleans Saints. Now, this is going to be, I see, a very captivating matchup. You have Tampa Bay going in this game. I mean, they finished 11-5. They won their last four regular season games, and they won their postseason game, of course, against Washington football team. 5 consecutive wins, but they have not fared well against the Saints this season. You have this matchup between Tom Brady and Drew Brees. You have two very iconic elite quarterbacks, number one and two, in a number of statistical categories. And the Saints, I mean, really dominated this series this season. I mean, they won the series 2 games to none, and they also annihilated the Bucs 38-3 in one of those games. Now, New Orleans outscored Tampa Bay by a combined 72-26 margin in those 2 games. Saints also dominated time of possession in that second meeting. They had the ball for about 40 minutes, and Tampa Bay only had it for about 20. It was very uncharacteristic for Tom Brady team to have played like that. Tom Brady also threw 3 interceptions in that game. Actually, for both games combined against the Saints this season, Tom Brady threw 5 picks total, and that secondary of New Orleans, I mean, is sensational. They were one of the best teams that were actually tied for number one in defensive interceptions with 18 this season. Uh, Another thing too is that in that second meeting, Tampa Bay only had 8 yards rushing in that game, and 138 yards. The Saints had 138 rushing yards against the team that finished number one in run defense. So the thing that I've noticed, you know, with these two teams, you look at Tampa Bay was very good in a number of statistical categories for the whole season, but the Saints, when they play them, it's almost like those numbers are almost meaningless because the Saints do so much better against the Bucs than a lot of these other teams have done from a statistical standpoint, and whether it's rushing against Tampa Bay or whether it's throwing passing yards against them, putting up points against them, whatever it may be, they seem to do better than a lot of these other teams do, and a lot of it is attributed to the fact the Saints have really very solid team, top to bottom. Now, as far as who I think is going to win, I gotta go with the Saints. Some of it is on virtue of them being at home. Another thing is the fact that it just seems like there's going to have to be so many adjustments for Tampa Bay and things to go right for them, and so many different improvements in a number of phases for them to come out victorious in this one. I think Tampa Bay is going to make the adjustments that they need to make this more competitive. I understand Tom Brady has been notorious for doing well what I call these retribution revenge games, but Tom Brady has actually lost two to Drew Brees this season. Drew Brees is actually 5-2 all time versus Tom Brady, and I really think it's going to be 6-2 following this game. I know, Tampa Bay might be Destiny's darlings for some people. That they really, I mean, they're the enticing pick. I mean, because Tom Brady's good in these revenge matchups. How many times can Tom Brady and lose to the Saints? But I look at this, and I mean, even though the Saints put up much better numbers against the Bucs in the 2 regular season games, I don't think those numbers will be that distorted in this one. I think they're going to win a number of those categories statistically in this upcoming matchup. but the disparity won't be as much between what they have and what the Bucs have statistically by the end of the game. And again, Tampa Bay will likely make the adjustments, and it'll be more competitive than the previous meeting. But the thing is, I mean, but it's just a lot for the Bucs, I think, to have to overcome in this particular matchup for them to actually win. And the thing is, we can't expect Tom Brady to have 2 consecutive poor performances against the same team. It almost seems unfathomable. I don't think that's going to happen. And it's also difficult for one team to beat another team 3 times in the same season. But if it were to happen, it could very well happen in this game. The Saints were, their offenses are very comparable. I mean, you have the Bucs averaged 31 points per game, about 31 points per game this season, and the Saints 30. The Saints were number 6 in rushing offense, but then you look in the regular season, but the Bucs were number 1 in rushing yards allowed, but they did allow 138 rushing yards in that second matchup against Saints this season, and it seems like these numbers for the Bucs, they almost got to be tossed out when they play the Saints, because they don't perform nearly as well against this team than these other teams. A lot of this is attributed, I'm sure, to the fact that it's a division rival. You have the familiarity. And another thing too, and the Saints were also they were formidable at home this season. You look at the the Bucs, though, were also a very good road team, and this is a team that can. The Bucs can win on the road, and very good on the road, and they proved they could win on the road, but can they do so against the New Orleans Saints? And the Bucs are 7-2 on the road this postseason, and not in the postseason, but a regular season, postseason combined, they are 7-2 on the road. Now, another thing is, when I look at this, is the fact that again, they prove they can win on the road, but again, I don't think it's going to get done in this game against the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints also not only have taken 2 out of the 2 games this season against Tampa Bay, but they've won 5 consecutive games against them, and have also won 4 of 5 against them at New Orleans. The Saints actually finished, they were number 4 in total defense and number 5 in pass defense. And the Bucs were actually number 7 in total offense and number 2 in passing offense. But I think part of this, what this comes down to, is going to be a critical matchup, is that pass defense of the Saints against the passing offense of Tom Brady and company. I understand, the Bucs may have Godwin and maybe Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski. They have a big arsenal in terms of their receiving corps, but I think they will be contained in this particular game. I like the secondary of the Saints against the Bucs in this one. And another thing too is that the Bucs were also 5th worst in rushing the ball this season. The Saints were number 4 in run defense, and that is going to be key in this one too. The Bucs did not rush they hardly rushed for any. They rushed for 8 yards in the previous meeting against the Saints. Of course, it'd be safe to say it will be better in this one, but how much better will it be? Now, their turnover differential is very comparable. They have, the Saints finished +9 this season, and the Bucs +8. Their takeaways, giveaways, I believe, are comparable as well. But the Saints have won the turnover battle in the 2 games this season against them by 6-2 margin. And they also sacked Tom Brady 6 times in the 2 games. And again, not to be redundant, But when I look at this too, that the Saints, or the Tampa Bay, had very good protection for Tom Brady this season. The Bucs were only sacked 24 times this season, but 6 of them came at the hands of the Saints. The New Orleans Saints have a tendency to make some teams that are very good look mortal and normal and average, and that's what they did to Tampa Bay this season, and maybe in this case, maybe even worse than average, considering the fact they throttled them 38-3 in the second meeting this season. And the Saints, they have a very fierce pass rush. They finished number 8 in sacks this season at 43. I think what's going to happen is in this game is that it's going to be, again, the turnover battle will be won by the Saints. I think they're going to get to Brady and put a lot of pressure on him. I like their pass defense against the Tampa Bay passing offense, and those are going to play huge dividends in New Orleans emerging victorious. I think there's obviously going to be adjustments made by Tampa Bay, but in the end, I see the Saints winning this one and moving on to the NFC title game. I see this game something like about 10-point victory for the Saints, like 34-24, somewhere like around there. So that is how I see it. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube NFL prediction segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.